before clay were made to form the body of man. They were creations of smokeless fire and creations of light. They live in the veins of man, influencing every decision. They stand side by side with man, writing and recording. As long as man lives, this fact will remain. The world is old, and a time of chaos will arrive before it dies. Promises will be made. When the smoke clears, the world will cease to exist, and man will find out what he has done in his lifetime. This has been written. The world of the unseen.
James is not here anymore. It is me and I'm talking to you. So watch me whip. Watch me nay-nay. Watch me whip. Watch me nay-nay.
He was in these classes. The idea was that because it's so tall, you'd be able to see another. Why am I even surprised?
It's kind of like a combination of channeling, possession. I don't know. When you get into a character, it is like...
channeling. It's kind of like a combination of channeling, possession.
I don't know. When you get into a character, it is like... that something happens that you don't know where, but it seems to be passing through you.
Yeah, do you think you're blessed? Or where does all this come from? Touched.
In the old days, just have a blessing, you'd end up being like burned at the stake. Going, he was very funny, but kill him anyway. You know, it's, I don't, you know, try and claim, oh yes, it's all mine. It comes through you, I think.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist.
Many years ago, I named my alter ego Sasha, and it's something that stuck. I feel like Sasha is a big treat for my fans. It's definitely exciting.
Sasha is my alter ego.
And I remember right before I performed, I raised my hands up, and it was kind of the first time I felt something else come into me. And I remember right before I performed, I raised my hands up, and it was kind of the first time I felt something else come into me.
I felt something else come into me. I felt something else come into me.
I guess I wouldn't be very entertaining on the stage, so Sasha comes out and she's fearless. You know, she can do things that I cannot do when I'm in rehearsal. I mean, I can try, but then it just doesn't happen. I can sing notes and sing strong and do all these things that when I'm just by myself, I can't do. I remember right before I performed, I raised my hands up, and it was kind of the first time I felt something else come into me, and I knew that was going to be my coming out night.
See Lil Wayne's face here. Okay. See his eyes. Looks like he has some contacts in, or his eyes are yellow. Not quite sure.
I had this dream quite recently that was so terrifying, so morbid and terrifying, and I called Deepak Chopra, who I work with, and I was telling him my dream, terrified, that the devil, and the dream was so terrifying, I thought somehow a devil force was trying to take hold of me, a darkness. I guess I see devil and darkness as the same thing.
Because I grew up in, a household where all I ever did was listen to gospel music, and my parents are both traveling ministers, and so I kind of sang about, what was going on in my life at 15, and that's how I got introduced to the music industry. I swear I wanted to be like the Amy Grant of music, but it didn't work out, and so I sold my soul to the devil. Because I grew up in, a household where all I ever did was listen to gospel music, and my parents are both traveling ministers, and so I kind of sang about, what was going on in my life at 15, and that's how I got introduced to the music industry. I swear I wanted to be like the Amy Grant of music, but it didn't work out, and so I sold my soul to the devil.
So does that mean that you get to see all the secrets? I mean, you share everything with each other?
I know all the secrets anyway, Jonathan.
Wow.
So just flick through the book.
Okay. So just stop at a page at random.
And then lock a word.
Okay.
On that page right there. I've got an envelope here. I'll be back.
Wow. How did the pages gone now? 2 to 8 is gone now. It was here a minute ago, and I didn't let go of it. You're the devil!
Because it's the demonic spirits using these human beings. Do you understand that?
And they just miraculously opened like it was some evil wizard. They just sprung open like that. And then my card flipped out.
Have sold their souls to the devil. In return, the devil gave them special power, fame, and fortune in this world. Assistance from the devil and demons is the way these top magicians have acquired these special, quote, magic skills, which makes them different from regular magicians who aren't necessarily receiving spiritual intervention. The spiritual assistance and intervention of demons is the only explanation for how the world's top magicians are able to do what they do. The real explanation for how the instant changes are made is that they happen with the assistance of demons. World-famous face changer Quan said, quote, "Face changing is a very secretive art form."
邊面嘅技巧咧就係好秘密嘅。
Quan will not only change his face over and over again during his performances, but he will also instantly change the color of his entire outfit. So where is he getting the new outfits that he's instantly changing into? There's no place for him to store the outfits or the masks. How is he able to switch and move the outfits and the masks perfectly in the blink of an eye? If people are looking for a natural explanation for these acts, they won't find one. There's simply no natural explanation for the instant transformation of his garments or masks, let alone both. In this clip, face changer He Hung Qing makes an interesting statement about how the instantaneous changes are made.
Actually, what is amazing about face changing is its mystery. Through performance and movements, performers are in effect playing with magic. In fact, face changing is a kind of magic.
Those who do so open themselves up to demons and invite them to take possession of their souls.
No way!
David Copperfield is the most famous magician in history. Copperfield has openly admitted that spirits are solely responsible for some of his magic.
I have an incredible museum of magic that's dealing with all the artifacts of all the great magicians of the past. Their posters, their programs, their books, hundreds of thousands of magic books.
Welcome to my secret, top secret, the International Museum and Library of the Conjuring Arts, with items belonging to Keller, Houdini, Thurston, all the great masters of the past.
I just bought this big magic collection that was about to get split up and kind of either split up or sent out of the country. And one of the first things, one of the greatest things in the collection is this first magic book. And the reason it was written was because it's called The Discovery of Witchcraft. It was written in 1584.
I don't really know. I mean, I was possessed while I was writing that letter. My hands were moving across the page, and someone else was pushing it, and I basically said that I would commit myself 100% to the part, and that I would sing and dance and act my heart out, and I would do everything I could to bring her to life and make him proud, and that absolutely no one could do the part as good as I did, and that's it.
And you know now, don't you think now when you see that film, I heard other people were considered for the part. I heard Meryl Streep and Michelle Pfeiffer. We can't imagine anybody else playing Evita but you. We can't even imagine.
No, I don't really know. I mean, I was possessed while I was writing that letter. My hands were moving across the page, and someone else was pushing.
Got on my knees and sort of communicated with the spirits. And when I came out, I was in charge.
Powerful scene.
Powerful scene. I couldn't have acted that. I couldn't have written that down and made a decision to play.
For years, Copperfield has levitated many people.
We floated people outside in broad daylight.
I am too scared. This is nothing.
Want to go again?
He has even flown through the air while proving that he doesn't have any cables or wires attached. He will even carry a person into the air with him as he flies around. Copperfield has included random members of his live audience in his magic acts throughout the decades.
mentioned in every ancient society under different names. And these are interesting to me. This is what they're called by some Central American shaman, the flyers, just a name. We have the demons in Christianity. We have the archons, that is the name for these entities of the Gnostic belief and the Gnostic writings from like 2,000 years ago, around that period and later. And the Islamic jinn. Because the way all of these entities or phenomenon are described is precisely the same in effect. They're different names for the same thing. And the archons, as the Gnostics called them, were said to be made from luminous fire. The jinn from Islamic and pre-Islamic Arabia was said to be made of smokeless fire. And when you look at what's said about, they're talking about the same force, the same phenomenon. Nag Hammadi in Egypt, a sealed jar of Gnostic writings was found hidden. And from that has come a fantastically greater understanding of what the Gnostics were talking about. These were mystics. They went out into other levels of reality. In many ways, we call them shaman today, many of them. This is what they talk about in these writings. They talk about the Lord Archon, or what they call the Demiurge, and the Archons that serve the Demiurge and the Lord Archon, as they call him. People call Satan or the devil as well. That these Archons, jinn, different names, have the ability to create fake realities, to distort reality, counter-mimicry, to give people the view or the feeling of a perception that seems real but isn't. Mind parasites, they possess the mind and influence the mind in a negative way, particularly in a negatively emotional way. The one word they say that can absolutely describe the archons is deception. And also they say that one of their great means of operation, modus operandi, is to invert everything. That's what they're doing, counter-mimicry. They are inverting what is already created so it becomes something else. And it's no accident that one of the great forces that worship these archons within human society, what we call Satanism, use inversion as part of its symbolism. The inverted cross, the inverted five-pointed star. A number of psychics have said to me around the world how they've seen people walking along the street or wherever, and then they've seen like an ethereal reptilian entity locking into these bottom two chakra points, the emotional level, one of them is, and floating around with them. And this is a kind of a good analogy. You know when there's scientists in a laboratory and they're trying to work with something that they can't touch because it's too dangerous. What they're working with will be in a tank, and they'll put gloves on, which allows them to be outside the tank, but to manipulate inside the tank. Well, that is a very good symbol of what I'm talking about. These Illuminati bloodlines, these hybrid bloodlines, operate like those gloves, operating inside this reality. And Neil symbolizes these Illuminati families with invisible light as this bearded man. Whenever you see him, as we go along, that is symbolic of the Illuminati families, controlled beyond human sight.
All sorts of complex designs. These first appeared in the late 60s, I think early 70s in the south of England. And they were a pretty simple design, and then they got more and more complex. And some of the hyperbole that's followed these, and you've heard some of this stuff, they are so precise and so exact, they could not have been man-made. The stalks have been bent in such a fashion, they've not been broken. We don't know any technology that can do that. There's leftover radiation. The cellular structure of the corn stalks or the wheat stalks or whatever it is have been changed. We've heard stories like that. But in the 1980s, two elderly gentlemen by the name of Doug Bauer and Dave Chorley stepped forward and claimed responsibility for all the crop circles that appeared, you know, in that early period. Now, they multiplied all over the world, so the first thing you need to realize, even though there are experts called seriologists, okay, serious field studies in this, that say they were created by aliens, just average Joe Blows like you or me gathered that it could be made, and they started replicating it all around the world. And Doug and Dave, when they came out and took credit for them, they were debunked. Here's how they make them. You can go to this website, circlemakers.org, and that's how they make them. Look at this, folks, a plank and 2 bits of rope. That is the most common and effective method used by people all over the world in making crop circles. However, there is a sinister side to it. And the circle makers, and again, look for yourself, you go to their website, their name originally was Team Satan. And you would wonder why somebody would call themselves Team Satan. I mean, they're in this for business now. Obviously it was politically incorrect and they changed it. But why would a group of people call themselves Team Satan? Well, when you investigate their website, you'll see that they say when they build these crop circles, they have all sorts of paranormal experiences. People have had healings. There's been radio interruptions. Lights have appeared in the sky. And so they don't believe that it's UFOs. They just think it is some sort of psychic or paranormal experience. I mean, for example, I was in Canada recently, I turned on the Sci-Fi channel and there was a woman channeling a message from an alien being. And she was saying from this alien being that we've evolved to such a state that you couldn't see me. My atoms move so fast that if you were to pass your hand through my body, if you were to try to touch me, your hand would pass right through my body. And so people are dabbling in some sort of what they think is some sort of pseudo-technology when it's really opening a doorway to the occult.
A lot of these UFOs you see in the air, the ones that glow really bright, those are demons. And these major Illuminati families do sorcery and conjure them up and give them blood. And there's a lot of human being authority and power behind this. These demons could perform signs and wonders in the air, and they could take any form. And what's going on with these crop circles is a Kabbalah symbol, which is ancient mysticism and all this garbage. It's witchcraft, people. Now, the next one's a pyramid that, just like on your dollar bill, with the sunburst behind it. Next one's a butterfly, like Monarch mind control. Next one's a chalice, like you see your Roman Catholic Pope holding. The next one's an Eye of Lucifer, the next one's a pyramid again. This one's very interesting, the next one. It's the black and white floor I showed you guys in my video about the Vatican and the Freemasonry temples. It's that black and white floor in a crop circle. What do you know? Just like in my pictures. This next one is a phoenix. Just like at the Olympic ceremony. What do you know? Now, if these were aliens from outer space, why would there be a phoenix that the aliens would make, and then we as people decided to make that same phoenix with the star over it at our Olympic ceremony? Isn't that a little weird? Isn't that a little weird? That's because the Illuminati's are the ones behind conjuring up demons that are making these images. And the Illuminati is behind demonizing the people that made the plan of what the Olympic halftime or the Olympic ceremony was going to be. You'll notice they always have a central point and a circle, or if they don't have a circle around, they'll have, you know, things leading into a center. That center is designed to be Lucifer and the power of the demonic conjuring. That's where they conjure up these demons.
At this point, I today do not know what it was in fact that we saw. But when we got back to the hotel, the motel that night, Paul said that he, about a half hour, 45 minutes, something like that, after he fell asleep, he woke up totally awake, and something picked him up, actually picked him up and set him up in bed, involuntarily. And the moment he sat up, a light came on over his head, like a little dim night light. And he looked up to see an alien's face with the typical alien's face with the bubble eyes, but it was glowing, and you could see through it. You could see the ceiling through it, as if it were a hologram of some kind. And it was glowing, looking at him, and he said it slid across the ceiling, went across the ceiling, hit the wall, and came down to where it was even with him sitting in bed. It went through the wall and disappeared. But Ivy, in my room, was laying so that she could see the door, and she said she saw the glowing on the wall, but she couldn't tell what the light was because it wasn't very bright. And she said, but when she opened her eyes to see the glowing of the light in Paul's room, which was the face on the wall, a little red, tiny little red dot of light came through Paul's room and came in and
Here are just a few examples. First, the magicians have come to accept that the visible universe has an invisible counterpart, meaning they truly believe in the habitation of good and evil spirits in our realm and the next. Second, by means of the secret processes of black magic, it is possible to contact these invisible entities and gain their help in some human undertaking. Third, it is possible to make contracts with spirits whereby the magician becomes for a stipulated time the master of an elemental being, more commonly referred to as a demon. And fourth, true black magic is performed with the aid of a demonic spirit who serves the sorcerer for the length of his early life, with the understanding that after death, the magician shall become the servant of his own demon. For this very reason, a black magician will go to inconceivable ends to prolong his physical life. And in fact, many a magician has lost his life as the result of trusting these demonic creatures during dangerous stunts.
With fire and brimstone, which is the second death.
Every time you were alone, every time you were asleep, he is always there. He dominates your nightmares. He controls you every step you take. He is in the earth. He flows through the air. He floods in water. He blows in the wind. And he burns in the flames. Advantage lies in his ability to influence the weak-minded. Religions have tried to warn you in their holy books. Teachings of peaceful tribes have told their stories about the truth. All of this has proven to be in vain. You still aren't convinced of his existence. You still haven't felt the strength of the dark side. I am
Tell me what happened.
There was another creature.
You've spent years caring for a human. Now it's time to care for your own.
The 666 and the Disney name is hard for some people to accept, but it's not Walt Disney's signature, as many believe.
It's like I would film things like that, or I would encourage like everybody, all different types of sexuality, but there is that thing where it's like a lot of people misunderstand me with S&M and they think it's super, and I have to like explain to people how, like, where it's more like you're tied down because you need to like be able to like have somebody hold you down and keep you still, or like you would fight something out, or like be able to heal once you're beaten, like, or something. It's like it comes from that real place of like, you know, as opposed to being accessories or something. It's like with tattoos or things. Like I've never always gotten them. There's like that time where he's like, oh, I have tattoos, and after a while, you're like, you can explain them and they can mean something. It's just comes from that real place. Yeah, I don't know. I only saw that film she brought over that night. People were like darker, like that kind of, you know. But my snake, I had that.
Wo sieht sie Ihren Auftrag darin in Verbindung zu Luzifer? Da gibt es so einen Zweck.
Da muss ich mich vorsichtig ausdrücken. Wenn wir sagen, die Freimaurerei, dann meinen wir die Freimaurer. Die Freimaurer sehen irgendwas, ein Prinzip oder sonst was.
Also sicherlich nicht die unteren Graden.
Die Freimaurer sehen es nicht. Aber die Freimaurerei insgesamt bewahrt diese Erkenntnis und kann diese Erkenntnis vermitteln und vermittelt sie auch, aber nicht in Form von Schulung, sondern in Form von Mythen und Symbolen. Und der Freimaurer, der das aufmerksam beobachtet, das, was er macht, Ritual, Symbol und Mythos, kann erkennen, um was es geht. Wenn ein großer Teil der Freimaurerbrüder das nicht erkennt, ist es nicht die Schuld der Freimaurerei. Und da müssen wir differenzieren, denn wenn ich jetzt irgendwas behaupte, da ist ein luziferisches Prinzip in der Freimaurerei, was wir realisieren, was wir erkennen, was wir tragen, dann wird 90% der Brüder sagen, wird erstmal missverstanden. Es stimmt nicht. Der erzählt ja sonst was. Wir würden uns niemals mit Luzifer abgeben, weil sie es nicht erkennen.
Der Grad der Erkenntnis auch noch nicht erreicht ist.
Nämlich der obere. Richtig. Es geht um bestimmte Erkenntnisgrade und deshalb braucht man in der Freimaurerei, um einen hohen Erkenntnisgrad zu erreichen, so um die 10 bis 15 Jahre. Das dauert schon eine Zeit.
Aber es gibt ja eine Geschichte, wie du schon sagst. Der Logenraum, der Tempelraum symbolisierte den Tempel Salomon.
Es geht in der Freimaurerei um den Salomonischen Tempel. Und nach der Beschreibung in der Bibel, im Buch der Chronik, im Buch der Könige steht, dass vor diesem Tempel 2 Säulen standen. Und die eine Säule hieß Jakin und die andere Säule hieß Boas. Und die standen frei vor dem Tempel, es waren keine tragenden Säulen. Und die Freimaurerei symbolisiert diese beiden Säulen. Die eine Säule gehört dem Lehrling, die andere gehört dem Gesellen. Und nur der Meister kennt alle beide, beziehungsweise der Geselle auch schon. Und dann taucht die Frage auf, wenn die Freimaurerloge den Salomonischen Tempel darstellen soll, was man vordergründig meint, dann kommt man zu dem Ergebnis, dass die Säulen in der Freimaurerloge falsch stehen. In der Bibel steht, und rechts stand Jakin und links stand Boas. Jetzt kommt man in die Freimaurerloge, das ist genau umgekehrt.
Das heißt, der Initiant geht ja zum Meister vom Stuhl, der nach offizieller Lehrmeinung in der Maurerei Gott darstellt.
Richtig.
Das heißt, wenn jetzt aber diese beiden Säulen verdreht herum sind, stellt sich die Frage, wer ist dann derjenige, der auf dem Stuhl sitzt
gut beobachtet.
Und einen Winkel trägt, der sogenannte Winkelmann.
Ja, also der Meister vom Stuhl trägt einen Winkel. Das ist der Winkeltragende. Und alle Beamten in der Freimaurerei, die einen Winkel tragen, die sind was ganz Besonderes, die sogenannten Winkeltragenden. Und in der Freimaurerloge ist es der Meister.
Aber man sagt doch, im rechten Winkel steckt der Teufel. Ist das so?
Ja, wenn es so wäre, dann wäre ja der Stuhlmeister der Teufel. Wenn die Freimaurer denken, da vorne sitzt der Vertreter Gottes, Jesus Christus oder sonst was, ist das ja schön. Und wenn wir zu dem Ergebnis kommen, da vorne sitzt im Grunde genommen der Teufel, dann beten wir ja den Teufel an.
Kann es sein, dass dies eines der höchsten Geheimnisse ist?
Es ist kein Geheimnis, es ist aber durchaus eine Erkenntnis, die hochinteressant ist. Sagen wir mal so, wenn wir die Säulen richtig einordnen und den Tempel Salomos darstellen, dann wäre der Meister vom Stuhl, der Vorsitzende Meister, der Mann mit dem Winkel, nicht der Gott, der im Allerheiligsten ist. Dann wäre dieser Platz im Osten, der Altar im Osten, kein heiliger Platz, sondern der Sitz des Teufels.
This is one of Houdini's poster ads. Look at all the demons on the poster. Poster ads have been used by magicians over the last 100 years as a way to get customers and others to come out to see their performances. Blackstone was a famous American magician. He became well known for his performances in the 1930s and 1940s. In Blackstone's poster ads like this one from the 1930s, you can find the clear depiction of demons. On this poster from magician Blackstone, he has 126 demon faces covering the border of the poster ad. In this poster, Blackstone is depicted dressed as a devil. Blackstone's son Harry Blackstone Jr. also became a famous American magician. He died in 1997 and, like his dad, became one of the most famous magicians in history. In this magic act, Blackstone Jr. doesn't just cause a light bulb to light up without electricity and float in the air. He actually pushes the light bulb out into the audience directly in front of their eyes. Number 9 on this list is the magician Dante. He was considered the greatest magician in the world when he died in 1955. Take a look at Dante's poster ad in which a demon is playing cards. It also shows a demon whispering in his ear. This is a clip of one of Dante's performances. Notice that he appears in front of a large image of the devil.
There she rests. She could remain there for hours should I so desire. But watch. Margot, hear me. Are you ready? Then go. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, for your pleasure, my assistants and I will present the famous Hindu rope trick.
In this poster, notice how the demonic figure behind Dante looks just like him. You can see that there is at least one demon in all of these Dante poster ads. There were many other famous magicians of the last century, such as the famous American magician Howard Thurston. He died in 1936 and he was considered one of the most famous magicians of his time. According to reports, Thurston would have people pick cards out of a deck. He would then put the cards back into the deck and shuffle them. He would then correctly select the cards that had been chosen by making them rise out of the pack one by one. Notice the demon whispering into his ear on his 1914 promotional poster. Charles Carter was another famous magician. He also died in 1936. He called himself Carter the Great. Some other prominent American magicians were Grover George, who died in 1958, and Harry Keller, who died in 1922. You are probably noticing a common theme with the poster ads for these famous magicians from the last century. In every single one of these poster ads, there is at least one demon being depicted. This indicates that these magicians knew exactly where they were getting the power to perform their signs and wonders. That is, from demons. The poster ads for these magicians clearly portray demons playing the key role in how these magic acts are being accomplished. The posters clearly demonstrate that these magicians were nothing more than sorcerers used by the devil. This is a modern magic book called Tricks of the Mind. It's a book written by Darren Brown, a famous current European magician and hypnotist. Notice the incredible similarity to what we just saw over and over again in the poster ads of famous magicians from the last century. Demons on the cover next to the ear giving information. Here is an ad for one of Brown's performances. Notice the demons right near him again whispering information into his ear. Brown's 2005 tour show was called, quote, Something Wicked This Way Comes. For his 2011 and 2012 Svengali tour, Brown proclaimed the, quote, wonders of the occult. Brown produced a small book for the tour which he currently sells. Brown also depicts himself with a devil's tail. Brown also sold a video of his different tricks which he called, quote, the Devil's Picture Book. As just stated, Darren Brown is well known throughout the world for his magic. He is also known for conducting things like seances on live TV. A seance is an occult ritual in which people attempt to make contact with the dead in order to receive messages.
He says, you know, it's written all over your face. You're afraid of going to a seance. But he says, I know you. You're going to come. And then he started telling me how brave I was when I was aboard ship, you know, different things. He says, you're not the same man. You're changed. You're chicken. That's all I needed to hear. I said, when do we go to a seance? So one Saturday evening, we were in the place. It was her first time. Very beautiful. Plays a medium. Was a lady. She had a gorgeous new home in Montreal. And there were about 20 invited guests there. Which I was one of them. And she communicated with the spirits for different people there. And telling them what the spirit said. One man said, I would like to talk to my friend that died 6 months ago. But I don't want him to appear. Just want to talk to him. Because he says, I don't trust you talking to my friend for me. So the medium says, let me inquire of the spirit. Yeah, the spirit will talk with you. And that big masculine voice was heard in the place. It says, hi Frank. It's nice of you to ask for me to talk with you. And they had a little chat. And after it was over, Frank says, this is the greatest thing on earth, to be able to talk with the spirits of the dead. Then the medium said, we have a very special surprise tonight for you people. A spirit will manifest itself openly here in a few minutes. And it's like a big gust of wind hit the building. And right through the wall. Now the lights weren't terribly bright, but they were like living room lights. A couple of floor lamps and maybe some of these. And that translucent being seemed to come right out of the wall.
How did you feel right at that moment?
It's almost like my heart stopped a little bit. You know, very weird feeling. And Mary fainted and fell right off her chair on the floor. And a couple of guys jumped up and picked her up, and it's very gone. And that was the beginning of it.
That's how you got into it.
Yeah, that's the way I got into it. After a while, you see, There's something interesting about the human mind. You can adjust an awful lot of stuff. You can adjust to a lot of things that would terrify you to begin with. After a while, they become common and ordinary.
So you mean contact with the supernatural can become commonplace and ordinary and doesn't bother anybody?
Yeah.
In other words, the more that you do it, you're not uncomfortable.
That's right.
It's just not an uneasy feeling.
Yeah.
So how did you feel about it?
Then I got into a secret society that worshiped the spirits, you see.
Now how is that different from the seance, Roger?
It happens that the seance are not involving in many ways. But when you get into a secret society of spirit worshippers, then, and especially when you're invited there by the direction of the higher-ups in the spirit world, you never get out of there alive. And this is exactly what my friend and I were up against. We didn't know anything about it. And there was a very, very popular big band leader.
Jazz musician?
Band, yeah, very famous. And one night we went to one of these seances, and he was with his wife.
So Roger, you're at this restaurant. What happened?
We sat there and we had our favorite alcoholic beverages, you know. And as we talked, the band leader says, he says, I want power. I go right to the source of power. And he says, how do you think that I became famous the way that I am? Well, I said, you must have had some good luck. Well, he says, there's no such thing as good luck. He says, there's either some power working for you somewhere, or you don't get ahead in this world. Not in my type of occupation. So it went from there. We got talking about spirit worship.
Did it intrigue you? Or did it make you want to find out more about what exactly he was talking about?
Yeah. So he said the supposed spirits of the dead that you're talking with are demon spirits.
Just set it out, just like that.
Oh, yeah.
It didn't make you uneasy when he said they were...
Well, you know, it shocked you a little bit, you know, something that you first hear mentioned to you. He said, you guys have got a great future ahead of you. Because we've been told, the high priest of our society, secret society, has been told that the master has very special plans for you too.
Now, what did he mean by the master?
Satan. And we were interested to hear more about it. And he told us, he says, look, we worship spirits. We worship Lucifer and all his... He says, there was a misunderstanding in the whole thing, he said, among the inhabitants of the galaxies. And he says, our master was misunderstood. And God did not bear with him like he does with people that make mistakes today. So we're in a warfare, good against evil. And we happen to be the evil ones, but we're not that bad. He says, I look at this business between the forces of good and evil. He says, you believe in one person believes in God, and everyone believes in Lucifer. It's like politics.
So the great controversy is real. And you've heard someone talk about it that's on the other side.
He said, well, I hate to have to tell you this, but seeing that you decided that you're not going to have anything to do anymore with the master and his people. I hate to tell you this, that the high priest told me that a price has been put on your life. A medical doctor, remember, gave me the name, has pledged $10,000 to have you done in.
How did you feel whenever you found out that you had a contract out on your life?
Well, it surprised me a little, but I had prepared myself for something worse. So that it didn't bother me too much. Because, see, the strength of the Lord, the word of the Lord was, the Spirit of God was giving me strength.
Okay, was the presence of the Spirit of God evident to Roland there that Sunday morning?
As we talked, and now he decided that he was losing the battle. He became very nervous. And he got up and went to the door, put his head on the door, and we talked there. He says, Marno, please, if it's not for your sake, do it for me. Do you realize what's going to happen to me if something happens to you? Things are settled. He lit a cigarette, and as he lit the cigarette, I saw his hand shake like this. And I said, you're quite nervous. Well, let me tell you, he says, there's a power here, a presence that I'm not accustomed to. I'm very uncomfortable because there's a power here that makes me terribly uncomfortable. Well, I said, you know what it is? It's the presence of the Spirit of God, the Spirit of the Creator, the life giver. And I said, every other power is subject unto that higher power. You're aware of that? Oh, yeah. So that's the way that it ended. He decided to go.
He told you that you had a contract put out in your life.
Yeah.
How did you respond to him? He was nervous, but he said
yes.
to you, you're walking under the shadow of death, Morneau. How did you respond?
I said, my friend, I've got some news for you. Not so much for you as it is for the high priest. And now the Spirit of God gave me very special righteous indignation. Have you ever heard of that terminology? That when I heard that they were going to do me in with, have me shot, I said, look, I got some news for the high priest and his boys. The day that they wipe me out, and they do me in, will be the day that the life giver is going to pull the bread of life on all of them, and they'll be dead cadavers there in the temple. And tell the high priest this: don't call funeral directors because they don't have enough, ambulance, but what do you call
coffins?
No, the wagon.
Oh,
hearses. Hearses. I said, you better call the fire department of Montreal. Then you pile them all up there, the whole 100 of them. I said, this is what's going to take place. He said, you're a fool. I said, you think so? They put a bullet in me, they're all going to lose out because the Creator will remove the breath of life. And I felt as sure of that as if it was a prediction that I think the Lord would have backed up my word.
So how did he respond after you told him that story?
Well, he said, I guess he says that I've lost my time. Before we part, he says, I don't want to even shake your hand because you're not a friend of mine no more. I said, have it your way. If ever we meet one another anywhere in the city of Montreal, don't you ever look at me like you know me because I'll ignore you and embarrass you, he says, wherever we are. I said, fine. No problem with that at all.